Welcome back, everybody. So, my next movie review for you is Brightburn. Now, I've been wanting to watch this movie for weeks and weeks and weeks, and this morning I finally got to watch it, and I can tell you now that I am not disappointed in this movie in any way, shape, or form. It is a very enjoyable watch. To the point is, it's what's an hour and 40 minutes long, this movie, and it seemed like it was like 20 minutes long. That's how much I was enjoying this movie. This movie doesn't fuck around either. It doesn't take long to actually get into the content of what this movie is about. There are a few what the fuck moments in this as well, which even got me cringing a little bit. And I can take certain amounts of gore in movies, and some of these I was just like going, that's kind of brutal, very brutal, but it works, and it's how it's supposed to be. This movie does also remind me of the Superman universe, or his backstory in his younger years, but with a massive, massive difference. Obviously, this is about a kid who discovers he has some superpowers, and instead of using them for good, he uses them for evil. It kind of reminds me of the Injustice universe as well, in the Batman universe. The DCE extended universe. It has that kind of scenario to it, but it's done very, very differently. So this movie follows a family who are raising a 11, 12-year old kid who comes from outer space in a meteorite, and it's like a blessing for them since this couple have been trying for a baby for such a long time. Little do they know that this kid has some special abilities, and instead of using them for good, he uses them for evil. Like I said, this movie does not fuck around. At the beginning of this movie, you get the first part where it's like, oh, he's nice, he's an 11-year-old kid, and then when something starts to interfere with him, you start to see that very aggressive change in him. To the point he's like super, super fucking angry. I do love this movie for I mean, this is so fresh in my head, so there's quite a lot going around. The way this was shot was absolutely fantastic. It's not overdone. The performances in here are absolutely superb, mainly from the mum, because you really get that kind of emotional attachment to the mum. The dad, yes, to a certain point. His performance in this was good, but nowhere near a touch on the mum. There's a lot of emphasis on the mum in this because of her performance and the kid. The kid in this doesn't have a huge amount of dialogue in this. It's just what he does and how he does this, which I'm going to get into in a minute. So this is technically a bit of a spoiler review. Music in this is absolutely fantastic. The musical score that's in this, just the way this is done. If there's something about this movie I love to bits. I don't know if it's the way it was shot, the way it had that fast paced kind of tempo to this, where it didn't mess around with getting into the storyline. To be fair, it not a deeply complicated storyline in any way, shape, or form. If you know the Superman universe, it's just like that, but just the other way around instead. And oh, like I said, the kid in here, his performance, his performance in here, like I said, he didn't have a huge amount of dialogue. It was just about what he did in his and how he changed so quickly. The death scenes in this, a couple of them are like, whoa. There was one part, the first death scene with the lady in the diner, and the first part of that, I was just like going, that's gonna sting. That is gonna sting. And the rest of them are just completely brutal, and some of them actually quite over the top, but it's a sense of what could be if you had like an evil Superman, and that is the sense of it. It's just an enjoyable watch. I mean, there's so much rattling around in my head at the moment. By far, also the other greatest thing about this movie is the fact that there is no winner at the end here. There is no winner, not for us. If you've seen this movie, you know exactly what I'm on about. And then if you go to the end credits and you see exactly what's going on after all this, it's just like, whoa, what the fuck kind of thing. This has actually happened. And it also suggests that this movie is going to be part of a bigger universe as well. They laid some Easter eggs in there in that post-credit scene of more movies like this, which will be extremely interesting to watch and to see what the outcome of this could possibly be. In all this movie, I could go on and on and on. I could go for every single scene right now. I got every single scene going around in my head right now. It is an enjoyable watch. It's an entertaining watch. This is more of a horror than anything else. It's a very good insight to see what potentially a bad Superman could be, even though it's not directly tied to the Superman universe. It has that very strong sense of feel to this. Performances in this, the main standout performance for me is the mum, because you do get that emotional attachment to her, and you can feel her pain, especially towards the end, to the point where she still loves him right to the very end. The other side of this movie, the kid, is very, very good. He's very conniving. He set things up to keep the heat off of him, which is awesome. If something goes wrong, he just gets rid of the problem. And it's just as simple as that. And with a guy or with a kid with that much power, anything is possible. And it's just an entertaining watch. It's just simple as that. I love the way it was shot. I love the fast tempo of this. I love the fact that they didn't take long to get into this movie. It wasn't outstrung. It was there within the first 10 minutes of this movie. It was already in motion. And it just, it's probably one of the best movies I've seen of 2019 so far. So if I was to rate this movie, I would give this a solid 8 out of 10. I would give it more than that. It's just that it's just where it's a very predictable kind of storyline is the reason why I've just marked it down a little bit lower. That being said, when I say predictable, actually I'm going to upgrade it to 9 because it's not that predictable because you don't see the ending coming as you don't. You get that sense of feeling towards the end that it is all going to come to an end, and then it kind of doesn't. So it's just I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Let me put it like that. It is an enjoyable watch. It is quite fresh in my head. Maybe I should have just taken an hour to think about what I was going to say, but all in all, I do highly recommend this movie. If you haven't seen this, it is an entertaining watch. It's more of a horror. There is a what the fuck moments in here, but I still managed to get to the end of the movie and go, that was actually pretty damn fucking good, to be fair. The way it's just directed was actually fantastic. The performances in here are are good. The mum, I know I put a lot of emphasis on the mum, but it's been done for a reason, so you get that emotional attachment to the mum. It's just an entertaining watch. If you haven't watched it, go and watch it. If you have watched it, please tell me what you think. Put it in the comments down below as normal. I hope you all have a great rest of the day, whatever you're doing. Please take care and goodbye.